Another child taken to a doctor because the stress level was so great. And it all happened. I said, I don't care if you like it or don't like it. If it hurts children, it's wrong. And so I've crossed the line in that respect. So these 12 people excuse me, can we go back? The 12 people that are up there was where I started. My dad told me that when you do business with somebody, you first find where their value system is. If you can identify with their value system, then you can do business with them. If it's not there, then you probably shouldn't. So I wanted to see what the beliefs were behind this, and then the 12 that they have up there, that is the belief system behind CSCOPE. All of them are directly or indirectly connected to either terminology, research, papers, statements that have to do with progressive liberal education. More so some than others. And as I looked at all of them, I talked to a couple of them. I read many papers on some of them. I took 3 of them and presented that in my report, which was Linda Darling Hammond, which Lev Vygotsky, and also Fenwick English in doing that. Lev Vygotsky is a Marxist. Okay, he was connected to a number of deaths in Russia. And when I say that Lev Vygotsky is a Marxist, even though that he was a human behavioralist in his theory that what was called the zone of proximal development. And then I had a state board member argue with me over why did I not believe in the zone of proximal development. And then after a while I said, he's a Marxist. It doesn't make any difference if you believe in his theory, which, by the way, before he died, he recanted it. And yet it is a part of this mindset of the collectivism of putting kids together in a collective mode and not giving them individual respect or merit. Okay, so when these teachers and parents and school board members were sending me information, then I started piling this into these categories, and these are the 7 that came up. The ideology, some have trouble with that. Some have trouble with covertness. That should be a red flag there. If you can't be upfront about something and truthful about something, then what are you hiding? And then the legal structure, the finances, and the illegal actions that have been incorporated into this. The quality and substance of materials. I looked at stuff and I thought, my gosh, who wrote this? Whoever wrote this has never been with a child in kindergarten. And you cannot believe that it would pass through a scrutiny somewhere along the line and be published out there and somebody not say something about it. Misrepresentation. I believe when school board members voted on this, the majority of them were never told what social constructivism is, the pros and cons of it, and what direct instruction versus social constructivism means in doing that. The inefficiency that you have. They say, oh, this saves time for the teachers. This saves them so much time because it's TEKS aligned. It's TEKS meaning the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills List, what we're supposed to learn. And it's already done for them, and there's resources there for them, and there's suggested lessons for them, and it's there, and it's a checks and balances. I mean, we've got the checklist there. We can really get going on this. But teachers tell me that they now spend almost twice as much time in preparation because there's no material. So those textbooks that were removed, now they have no material. They have to come up with material to provide for the kids in the classroom. And the last one, of course, is hurting students. And there are 14 ways that this program hurts students, and I can list them off for you. But just to see one child cry, and I've got one on a recording that his mother was driving with him in the car, and he was telling Mom, I can't take it anymore. And it's a little bitty kid, 19 years old, and he's crying about this. And she said, honey, just get it out. Go ahead and just say anything you want to. And then she recorded him. And he said, I used to be so smart. I used to be so smart. And I can't be smart anymore because they're giving me tests of which they're giving me questions on stuff I've not been taught on. And now I'm not an A student anymore. And I've heard that repetitively from all different parts of Texas. So the approach here. Now, another thing is that I'm trying to show you their slides. These are their slides, not mine. I did not make this up. They're free of commercial products or textbooks. They'll say, oh no, we never said we don't want to do away with textbooks. And oh no, we didn't do this, or oh no, we didn't do that, or no, we didn't want it done that way. That's a local problem. That's a local control thing. But if you go back and look into their material, which by the way, some of the material now is disappearing in it, that you will find the roots of this basically supporting every accusation that these teachers have given me, okay? The structure of it. They knew at the beginning, and this was one of the first training things, they knew at the beginning that veteran teachers would buck this system. Now, I've done many workshops where I go in because I have accelerated learning. Kids learn really fast. I'll go in and say, okay, you can do this, this, and this. And those veteran teachers will jump on an idea. I don't care if it's 10, 20, 30-year teacher. They will jump on something that works. And before I get home, I'll have at least 2 or 3 emails. Ms. Mac, I took your idea, I twisted it, I added to it, and here it is, and it worked for me or it didn't work for me. They will take it to the next level. But for them to believe that veteran teachers would buck this, why? They had to know, why would they not want the cure for cancer? If this program was supposed to be the cure-all for the STAR test, if it was supposed to be the solution for school board members to jump on because it would cost you less and it would solve that problem, then anybody with rational thinking would jump onto it. But they knew right off the bat that people would be resistant to it. Okay, I'm going to skip through this. It's just showing you the money flow and the structure of the region centers are supposed to be under the commissioner. The commissioner, of course, is appointed by the governor here. CSCOPE is not just a management system, it's a total control system. And as an administrator, as a school administrator, and I was into total micromanagement, I'd love this. Because it's a checklist, and I can be on top of everything that everybody is doing just by turning on my computer and finding out. Have they clicked on? Have they downloaded any lessons? Then I can do the walkthroughs, and I can be on top of everything and say, yes, they've done TEKS number 3.CB, whatever, that they have out there. It's basically just that. Now, did the child learn anything? Well, that's a different thing. So it controls teachers, it controls students' thought, it controls the truth, it controls the amount of parental public influence. It is a control system. It is not service. My father told me as a Christian that Christians are supposed to be first ones of servants, not people to control someone else. It's not learning, it's brainwashing. That's your opinion, and a lot of people have that opinion here, and we'll see some things that might support that. What I'm trying to say is that when you take away the freedom of thought, or the freedom of choice, then what do you have but someone, I guess, controlling your brain? Okay. So it's education without representation. It was never designed for efficiency, accuracy, or integrity at all. I was hired by Temple ISD to do an accelerated learning in math by the principal. And then by the time my contract was signed and I was to be there on the first day of school, they had hired a new superintendent who was bringing CSCOPE in at the same time. But they had to honor my contract, so I was in the school, and the first day I had 2 little bilingual classes. And just like those kids at the beginning of this, these were just ordinary kids. They counted to 20 in Spanish and 20 in English. We did it together. Then I showed them how to memorize 11 math facts really fast, so they had 11 addition and subtraction facts down. Boom, 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 boom. That's usually done in first grade. This was a kindergarten class. They felt great. They'd learned something, they had ownership of it, they were above level, they'd accomplished, and they were going back to their seats. I came back in 4 weeks as a follow-up thing, and I said, how are we doing? Do they still have the 11 down? Have you moved on to some more? What have you been doing? What's the pros and cons of it? They said, we're on the number 4. I said, what? We're on the number 4. And this is in the 4th week of school. We're on the number 4. So from that first day of me showing those kids what they could do incredibly well with their brain, CSCOPE comes in, and for each week had given them one number, taking them 20 some odd weeks to teach them to count to 20. So that we had done that on the first day of school yet. This is called dummying down. And it's obvious it cannot be anything else. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about the methodology, social constructivism. You have a handout that has 2 columns in there, and you will see the difference between direct instruction, which is a traditional conservative approach, and then on the other column you will see a more CSCOPE approach and some of the characteristics of it. Now, there are things over there on that CSCOPE column that I've used before, but I don't have it as my main menu as far as kids learning things. But the difference between the two is the fact that you have that static, anchored, vetted, expert material that's available for the child to refer back to. It's an anchor. And then with CSCOPE, everything is flying in the wind. And the teacher is no longer the teacher, they are the facilitator. Okay. They also listed the philosophy behind this is the constructivist theory of learning. I don't believe that I've had one school board member tell me that they have had this explained to them before they voted on it. And in doing that, since John Dewey was a progressive in the late 1800s. Every 20 years you'll see progressive liberal come up to the top, then conservative will come up, then we'll swing back and forth. Do y'all remember fuzzy math? Back when you didn't have to get the right answer, but just kind of close to it. So you will see those ups and downs. Right now we are now in the middle of a fuzzy math dilemma, basically. Okay. A teacher's report. This is given to me by a teacher. If you have a child in public school with CSCOPE, did you know that because of CSCOPE your child wastes approximately 1 out of every 5 days, 2 cumulative months, years testing? Under the oppression of CSCOPE, teachers are subjected to as many as 3 unannounced walkthroughs a week, which administrators call best practices that lowers teacher morale and interrupts the flow of instruction. Okay. They implemented the program, and you now have micromanagement. How do you keep the teachers in line? Well, I will tell you that there are a number of teachers that are award-winning across the state that have quit over this. A lot of teachers have taken early retirement. Just down at Lake Jackson, they told me 40 teachers will not renew their contracts for next year because of CSCOPE. And in this day and time when jobs are hard to find, it will take a lot for that to happen. You would think that somebody would wake up and say, duh, something's wrong here. So what have they done to keep the teachers in line? They had to sign a user agreement at the beginning. Before they could log on to the program, they had to sign, and I have parts of that user agreement here, that you'll be prosecuted if you share any of this information. Criminal prosecution. If you say anything bad about CSCOPE, then you can get in trouble as well. If you contribute anything and make corrections, then it's our ownership, not yours. It belongs to us. So teachers from the very beginning have been hit over the head. I've never, ever seen a profession demonized as much as what CSCOPE has done to teaching. Because the CSCOPE teachers are banning high-quality lessons for time-wasting, cut-paste activities that dumb down the educational value of the lesson. When Mary, the teacher that testified beside me on the Senate, was talking, she brought the whole room down because she was a 5th grade science teacher, and she was saying, okay, here's the one on sedimentary rock. And it tells us to go to the closet and get some ramen noodles, which you buy a bunch of ramen noodles, and you bring them out and you give it to kids and they rub it together, and that little sediment is supposed to teach them about sedimentary rock. And she looks at the panel and she says, we live in Texas. Step outside the door. Pick up a rock. It's right there. And she said also the one thing that was funny was that when she went down to get ramen noodles another time, that because everybody in the class, the whole grade has to have ramen noodles eventually, that they had a problem, and she ran down to the office and she said, you know the ramen noodle experiment? We now have a mouse problem.